Welcome to the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa, where we discuss dating and other significant relationships.
Thanks for joining us today on the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa. Do you have show ideas? Email us at jorgeandnelsa@gmail.com. Follow us on Spotify or anchor.fm for more great shows.
Good evening, Poppy.
Good evening, Mommy. How you doing?
Awesome. This summer heat has been cranking right up, but I'm staying cool, staying hydrated, and excited about our show tonight.
Oh, man. I have been looking forward to this show for a long time. This has been like chasing Bigfoot to try and put together this show. So I am glad that we have Rose and Maureen, who are going to tell us about their journey and their experience. How are you guys doing?
Hello, how are you guys?
Awesome. Thank you for joining us tonight, Rose and Maureen. And just so our audience knows, tonight or whenever you listen to this podcast, we'll be talking about swing or swinging and dating, however it needs to go. But the swingers lifestyle is what our topic is tonight. And we really didn't want to just, like we always do with the show. Our goal is always to educate, to encourage, to inform, and to learn something new regarding relationships and different relationships, because most people are listening to our show. They've either just started back dating after divorce or being, widowed or what have you, and or just getting out there on the scene with some of our demographics. So, guys, can you tell us what attracted you to the swingers lifestyle? I guess that's my first question for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, we get asked that a lot because we're fairly new. We haven't been in it but since probably 5 or 6 months. Basically it was just I joke and say that we got on the side of Swing Talk on TikTok. It was just one of those things, the For You pages that kept popping up, and obviously I'd heard about it before and just kind of never really put much thought into it. But just and we just had a conversation one night, and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he was like, I'll try anything at least once.
But twice if I like it.
Yeah.
So we've experienced a few couples, and we've met a few single ladies. We're on a journey to meet a few single men. So it's been a real learning experience. It's caused us to have a lot of really in-depth conversation, which has been great because it's helped us as a couple grow.
Let me ask you something. So, and something that I've always wondered about people that, explore this lifestyle. How do you guys put those jealousy emotions aside? Because I think that is the initial human instinct and reaction of a lot of people who maybe just are not familiar with this world or just don't know enough about it. How do you guys balance that?
I mean, honestly, that was my biggest concern when we went into this. I was like, we are both divorced. This is a relationship after divorce and bad breakups. And I was like, I don't want to bring drama into us. And I was like, so how are we going to do that? And basically, like he said, communication. I know without a shadow of a doubt how this man feels about me. And he knows how I feel about him. And that's one thing that we always try to focus on, is that we know where we stand at the end of every day. And he knows that how I feel about him. And at the end of the night, I'm going home with him regardless of what happens. And it's communication. Like, if we feel off about anything or if we don't like something, we communicate. We talk about it. As soon as we, let's say we have a night of fun, on the way home, and we kind of dissect what happened and how each person felt, and we're completely honest with it. And sure, there's a little bit of fear, and even being a female with past history of different types of relationships, like it's like, okay, well, there's always going to be somebody better looking than me. What's going to keep him from saying, hey, I'd rather have that than what I've got at home? But you have to have confidence in yourself first and foremost. I know what I bring to our relationship. I know what I bring, to this lifestyle. And you just have to know that it's trust. Like, I mean, we've had it before. There's no answer that something won't happen and we get upset at each other. But you just have to communicate.
Awesome.
So, Rose, I like your answer, because I think so often, like, we've talked to someone about the polyamorous lifestyle. We've talked about, going into some BDSM, role play, that kind of thing, as means to, to explore your relationship or take it to another level. But I don't think out of any of those conversations we've had so far on the show, it's any different than a monogamous relationship. You've said the same words that we've used over and over on the show: communication. That one is number one, that we talk about all the time, I think. Then trust and confidence. So, Maureen, I'd like to ask you, as the male partner, did I get your pronouns correctly? I hope so. Um, it, do do you feel a certain type of way? And you guys said you've only been in this, a few months, but like after your first encounter, obviously you went back and decided to continue down the road. How did you feel as a man? Because one of the things that I've noticed with men that I've dated in the past or past relationships, a lot of men feel like they don't mind um, sharing their woman with another woman, but a lot of men don't want to share with another man. And you both just said you're on your way to, exploring what, you know, another male in the relationship might do. So how do you feel about that as a man? Like, obviously you're doing it, so you're open, but what was your first feeling?
Yeah. So, I mean, our first encounter was with another couple. It actually happened on my birthday this year.
Mm-hmm.
We met the couple for dinner. Things seemed okay. We had been chatting for a while via text and stuff, and they came to meet us for dinner. He was having an off day for whatever reason. So we ended up like not playing that. But we had driven, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half or so, stayed in a hotel for the weekend, and they ended up coming back the next morning, and we ended up playing. So we continued talking with a couple, and we met up for dinner another night, and ended up swapping in our room.
So did you have any feelings of jealousy or, you know, lack of confidence, or, did you have any sort of insecurities to come up during your evening?
No, I felt like we had that those potential insecurities were like well squelched before we even entertained.
Okay.
That's a great way to kind of lay it out, because I feel that I think a lot of people think that it's something that's already kind of choreographed, but it sounds like you guys actually socialize, you guys have some conversations, and then just kind of organically let things play out, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think that's, at least for us, that's worked the best to this point. we've been to a couple of house parties where we ended up not playing, even though that's typically how the lifestyle seems to go. And we've been fine with that. We have, gone to a playroom and did our own thing and allowed people to watch, which is, and then obviously just done our own thing once we got home.
So do you guys normally, so from the research that I've done and just some reading, normally there's three ways to, there's several ways to go about it, but the popular ways to do it is some people like to do a soft swap, which is basically, everything that would exclude sexual intercourse. And then you have full swap, which includes everything along with sexual intercourse. And then you have what you just described, where sometimes couples or individuals go and they only play with each other and not necessarily with others. Where do you guys fall in that spectrum?
We've done all three. It just kind of, like I said, we don't really plan them. And there are some people that are like, okay, hey, we're going to be here tonight. And I'm one of those that in my younger days, I was all about it. But the older I get, I'm just kind of like, I want to have a decent conversation. You could look like Channing Tatum, but if you can't have an intelligent conversation with me, then this isn't going anywhere. So we've kind of see where it goes. If we've hit it off with some people and just because you might not be prepared for that, or that might not be what they're interested in. Of course, you're potentially going to have intercourse with somebody you just met, so nerves could play into it. So it's just kind of one of those things. Like I said, we just kind of see where it takes us and go from there. But we have done all three scenarios, and sometimes it escalates to where the first time you meet it's soft, and then the next time you're kind of like, that was fun, and take it to the next level.
So is there actual potential for relationship with other people, or is it just considered play to enhance your relationship? I don't know anything really about the lifestyle, and that's one of the things that, we've been asking our Facebook viewers about their opinion, whether they think they could potentially, do any type of swinging with someone they're already in relationship with, like the two of you have stated, or if a potential date, So is there any sort of potential for emotional long-term relationship, or is it just play?
For us, we're long term. For adding any additional kind of like, that's more into the poly lifestyle. That's not what we're into. Mm-hmm. One relationship is enough. That's where I want to devote my attention and my, all my focus in with our family. This is just something we give us a little bit of spice, as people say, just something on top, but we still focus on us. This isn't something that we do every kid-free weekend. We just enjoy, because it kind of gets us out of our shell. We're both pretty social people. Mm-hmm. I'm extremely social, and that's one thing he says he loves about me, is I can talk to anybody, anywhere. And so just to be able to get out of your normal routine, and you dress up and you go to dinner and just kind of get out of your shell. So it's definitely just, just for that fun piece of it. As far as friendships, absolutely. We would like to be able to, build a friendship with people and like, hey, why don't we go to dinner, or things like that. But in regards to like intimacy type relationships, no, mm-hmm. It would just strictly be just us for that aspect of it. And the majority of the people in this that we have encountered, that's pretty much what it is. It's just, just that fun dynamic, mm-hmm. just to add something to the relationship.
So,
on site.
Yeah, so from what I was researching, the way that this is described is ethical non-monogamy, and the biggest difference between the swingers lifestyle compared to the polyamorous lifestyle is that with swingers, it tends to be more for fun, for excitement, more for fantasies to kind of come alive, sort of speaking, like you said, Rose, to spice things up. With poly, it is designed to love multiple people. They're looking for something more meaningful and more long term. That tends to be the biggest difference within these two dynamics that can sometimes get a little blurry. But one thing that I do want to stress is, and something that I have spoken from people in my circle who also have explored this lifestyle or have lived the lifestyle, is that oftentimes what a lot of couples try to do when they're struggling or when they're not doing well, they see this as an opportunity to fix or salvage the relationship. And the problem with that is that if you're not doing well, this type of lifestyle can bring out the worst in people, to the point that people end up splitting, or people end up finding new people to date, or it can create a wedge between a couple, if they play with another partner who maybe is more compatible with them, or can be more pleasing to them. So this can also have its pitfalls if you're not careful. What I've spoken with people who practice it the right way is that it is imperative that your relationship and foundation is solid, and that you have your things in order within your relationship, so that way you're not seeing this as an opportunity to fix the relationship, but more so to add some excitement and to add some fun.
I feel like, I've spoken with some couples and single, both female and male. I feel that opens the door to that emotional connection, where with us, we keep, I can't say keep it completely out, but possible, like we communicate about all the aspects that we can. So it, for the majority of it, it keeps that emotional potential of, like, the love nest, so to speak. Like, ooh, this is euphoric, and now this person's giving me all this extra attention that my partner might not be giving me. So I'm gonna spend more time with this other person, only to find out that you end up falling flat on your face, so to speak.
Well, that's what I was going to ask too, about boundaries, because I would think in order to keep a healthy relationship, just like any other, whatever it is, sometimes people are trying to save a relationship by having a baby, or, moving into a new house, or, whatever trick you're pulling out the deck. Um, and when you get into that place, you probably just need to go see a good therapist and get counseling, either individually or as a couple or what have you. But if you've talked about your relationship, you have good open communication, then I would think that you've talked about boundaries. So, like, for instance, what would be some of the things that are deal breakers or boundaries for the two of you?
First started, we said no singles, and we started divulging that. But it kind of changes as you get into it. But that's, like I said, communication. We both cannot stress that enough. When I say that me and this man communicate about everything, we communicate about everything. I'm a talker, if you couldn't tell. So it's not hard for us to be able to do that. But we communicate with the opposite sex together. So any potential male he is added into the chat. Any females, I'm added into the chat. He can talk to men individually, and I can talk to females individually. But I don't want to say allow, because that just sounds bad, but we choose not to speak to the opposite sex without the other person involved after the initial, like, greets. Like, hey, how are you doing? We're interested. Is it okay if I add my significant other to the chat? And then pretty much the other person's added.
Okay. So are there groups like like there's a Tinder, of course, to meet potential dates? Is there a group?
Oh, yes, there are. I never really knew how much there was. There's a lot of Facebook groups that we found, some that are local, some that are further out. So we're in a couple of Facebook groups, and we have a joint Facebook as well, that we both have access to log into, that we can just communicate. It's easier because I don't have my personal information attached to it. There's SLS, which is a paid website. You can have a free profile, but you can't really communicate on there. There's Carolina Friends. It's more local to North and South Carolina, and they actually do events normally in the Triad area. There's SDC. I haven't really played with that a whole lot, but that I think is a little bit more popular on the West Coast, is what I've been told. There's Cassidy, which is another website that I've kind of looked at recently, just because I was trying to research a little bit for this.
Right.
But I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. You can put Tinder. Some people have said that you can kind of put your information on there, but TikTok has gotten really famous for it. That's where I first kind of got into it.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, Swing Talk's a thing, man. Went down the rabbit hole one night and just, you like a video and then 15 more come after it. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow. Like social media is something. There is really truly something for everybody.
There really is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let me ask you guys, what are some of the boundaries that you guys have established, if you guys can share? And if not, I completely understand as well.
We stay in the same room. So even if, at this point, both of us have participated in all the activities, so to speak. But regardless of, even if the one's not participating, we're both in the room together. So we don't do separate.
Okay.
Have some that kind of can do solo play. We don't. So that's kind of our thing, because we figure we do this together. So if we're doing it together, we're together. Personally, with solo stuff, I'm here to enjoy watching you, and I can't do that if you're not with me. And plus, I'm nosy, so I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on.
Like a good significant other.
Yeah, I'm nosy. So, but that's really, obviously condoms, protection, because this is, one of those things. We're both responsible with that. We're parents. We're professional people in the workforce. We have to be careful with that. So that's like a hard boundary. But other than that, like, we really, obviously no drugs involved or anything like that. Cause I think the first probably crazy proposition I got was from a Facebook group, like right after we started this. And the guy, I don't know what he said to me, but it was something. And I had to Google it cause I didn't know. And it was basically, you go and you get high on whatever drug that he has, and you have intercourse. And I'm just like, no, I'm good. I appreciate the offer.
That's crazy. That's so unsafe. To not know what's happening to you. That I can't even imagine who agrees to that.
The other side of it is that we've ran into, in some of the groups, some very pushy, like very forward people. Are not for it. Don't just immediately expecting to, exchange nude pics or, even meet like
it doesn't look good on any
or whatever without having, some kind of conversation. So those are like hard boundaries for us.
Good. And I think they're all reasonable. Let me ask you, what would be the best advice that you would share or that you would recommend to maybe new couples or new people who are maybe interested in exploring or just curious about the lifestyle, or maybe just curious about attending an event? What would be some recommendations or tips that you guys would share?
Communicate.
Communicate. I mean,
That is, it's a huge saving grace.
and don't be afraid to, you know, say how you feel. And if the other person, and I've always said, you need to go as fast as the least, how do I say, as the least interested partner, or at their comfort level. So if you've got one that's like all into it and like, yeah, let's do this, this, and this, and you have one that's a little bit more apprehensive, you have to go with apprehensive pace. You have to be comfortable with them, because pushing somebody to do something is going to backfire, because that person's going to get upset and it's just going to end bad. So just constant communication. And if you feel some sort of way, that's okay. Like, that's normal. Like, you know, in the groups, I'm constantly like offering comments to people because they're like, well, I thought that I was okay with it and I'm not. How do I tell my partner that you're not okay with it? Just say, I'm not okay with it. I was like, you can't help the way that you feel, but by not saying something, you can't expect them to know. And that's one thing, even with monogamous, like a standard relationship, people can't read minds.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't say it, you can't get mad at them for not knowing.
Right.
And the whole, well, he should know, or they should.
I told
Just like on the opposite side of that, like if you're at say an event, or you're out with a couple, and you know, we've had this instance between us, like we've had this conversation. If I've given permission for X, Y, and Z, then X, Y, and Z happens, I can't get mad about it because we've already discussed it. And I've said, okay, this is the point I'm okay to. If it goes beyond that, then it becomes an issue, unless we talk about whatever is beyond what we've already accepted.
Good. I really like the way you guys have laid this out. And you know, with dating and relationships, communication is always going to be you know, the main focus. And the more that you do that, the better off you're going to be, regardless of whether it's a standard relationship, or if you know, choose to explore, you know, monogamous ways or whatnot. I do want to ask, what do you guys love most about the lifestyle?
You'll have to excuse us. We have a child nearby. Hold on one second. He's supposed to be in bed.
All right.
Listen, we just talked about the single life and single parents and dating.
Right, exactly.
So Nelsa, I do want to say, I actually recently attended an event, a swingers party, and
Really?
it was quite the experience.
Well, you know, FCC version, please.
Oh, absolutely.
What were your thoughts after
You
all?
know what? Well, I can honestly say I was very nervous, and you know me, I rarely get nervous. So
Absolutely.
I was very nervous. Not because of meeting new people. I've never had any issues with that, but just I did not know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I went as a single man, so I definitely did not know what to expect even with that. And I can honestly say I lucked up and I met some really, really cool people. It was a fantastic experience. If I had to describe it in one word, it's definitely euphoric. And
Mm.
I could see I could see how people really enjoy the lifestyle, because in the very beginning, everybody was very welcoming, very warm. You know, pretty much like a normal party. You wouldn't know the difference. However, in these kind of parties, there's not a lot of shy people in the building.
Right. No wallflowers.
Yeah, these are the people that go there. Even, you know, newbies like myself, or, you know, other newbies that were there, were pretty outgoing and pretty curious. So there definitely wasn't a lot of shy people, but what I really appreciated was that everybody was warm, everybody was welcoming, everybody was very easygoing. So I never felt any kind of pressure or anything of that nature. Everything just kind of organically flowed, which made my nerves go away pretty quickly.
Anybody you knew there, or did you know anybody there?
So I knew a couple of people that were there. But, you know, the 75-80% of the people I did not know.
Okay, let me go. Did you guys act like you knew each other when you saw each other?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've hung out. So a buddy of mine was there that I've, you know, hung out with before in the past.
Okay.
And I saw him and he was like, "Hey, what's going on?" So, you know, he
did.
chuckled and, you know, and he told me, he's like, "Man," he's like, "You came to the right party."
Wow.
But I can honestly say it was a very amazing experience. But also kudos to you know, the host for the party. They really had everything in order. They had food, they had drinks. So the new people like myself and some other people that were new, they gave us a tour of the house, kind of explained the ground rules, even, you know, before anything could potentially happen. So everybody kind of was on the same page with that. And they were just very organized.
And you know,
But
that's really what you think from like Hollywood versions, which is all the experience I have. You know, that you're just gonna walk in, it's gonna be just like hedonistic, just
no, it was
dark, and you know, red velvet
it's really
everywhere.
not.
no, it was not. It was like a normal party until it wasn't a normal party. If you catch
Yeah,
my drift, like
yeah.
once
11 o'clock
somebody,
hits. 11 o'clock hits. The clothes tend to become less.
so once it just took one person to kind of take that leap. And then once that person take that leap, everybody's like, all right.
Again, like regular party. Like as soon as that one person hits the dance floor, the rest of the party can commence, right?
But yeah, but
a different floor. Yeah.
But also during my experience, I also had very deep intellectual conversations with people about, you know, different topics, obviously the lifestyle. And I told them, like, I was honest, like, yeah, this is my first time, so I'm a little nervous, so you'll have to excuse me.
Right.
So I told him because, you know, I had no idea what to expect. And also going to a swinger party as a single man is a different dynamic, because I did see couples together, but I did not know what the dynamics were, you know? Like, is she only bisexual, so she only wants to talk to women? Or is this her husband and they're just there to party and not participate? So there was so many different moving parts with that. And that never was an issue, because people are just very social, very outgoing, and they normally just kind of come up to you and talk. And, you know, as long as, you know, the conversation flows well and, you know, you cut up and laugh a little bit, then things just kind of flow together pretty nicely. So I was very pleasantly surprised that there really wasn't any awkward moments or tension. But it was definitely euphoric and wild and crazy. There was plenty of that, but it was like almost organized chaos in a way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I say that's fun about it, is because no matter what, you know, your type is or who you are, like, there's somebody for everybody. And as a female in this, that I like to say I am a little plump on the plump side. Fluffy, as my kid calls me. You know, your confidence at first, you're kind of like, okay, you know, there's going to be like these women that are walking around next to nothing, and I'm just going to go hide in a hole somewhere. But honestly, like, just you get confidence from it because everybody is so welcoming most of the time. And like my mama always said, there's a lid for every pot. So, you know, I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's shot of whiskey. And I've pretty much had to realize that, like, going into this. Like, no, I might not be everybody's type, but I've actually gotten more confident at certain things because of this. Because of the dress. Like, I wear things that I would never wear out in public. And I'm just like, you know what? Dang, I don't look half bad. You know, I'm like, I hear you. I see you, girl. So
the great thing that I've experienced is that both ends of the spectrum in terms of, like, you know, the Barbie doll versus the big beautiful woman, like there is a person on every level. And you know, the confidence that some of these people have, even the men, you know, they'll get out there and they might not know how to do a dance, but they'll get out there and shake it with, you know, the Barbie doll next door, just having a good time. And so the confidence that people have gives us confidence. Like, hey, that's you know, that person's, you know, doesn't dance well like I do, so, but they're doing it, so why can't I? Like, you know, so it's those dynamics change from like event to event. You know, we've been to a few house parties and a couple of club parties, and it seems to always be different, but it's always fun.
I like that. I could
just like
honestly say,
I just like being the center of attention. So anytime I can go somewhere and be seen and heard, probably heard before I'm seen, it's just fun. Like, you tend to just meet people and talk, and it's just, you don't have to stress about anything. It's just, you're just there to have a good time. So that's why we enjoy it. It's not, we don't want it to be stressful. We want it to just be fun and laugh and cut up. And so far, I mean, there's been a few hiccups, but that's gonna happen.
I can honestly say, with my experience, I would do it again. But at the same time, I was lucky that I met some really, really cool people, very welcoming, very smart people, and people who were experienced as well. So it wasn't like the blind leading the blind kind of thing. And in that setting, I noticed that, like you said, there is a lot of confident people there. It's a judgment-free zone. So with that, it just brings out, you know, a lot of different sensations of people where they can just be free and do what they want and not be judged. And I think that is also a dynamic about this setting and lifestyle that a lot of people really embrace, especially when you live a vanilla life. But I want to thank both of you for joining us, because let me tell you, I have been trying to get a couple to come talk to us for quite some time. And it was like an act of Congress, because nobody wants to talk, because, and listen, for obvious reasons, right? I get it. Like, I'm not, I understand where they're coming from, that they rather go with secrecy with this life. Like, it could literally be your nanny or the PTA mom who's a swinger, and you wouldn't know it, because that's how a lot of these people operate. They operate very carefully and very quietly.
And I mean, we do. That's why we have, you know, the Facebook that's not associated with name, you know, pictures not posted, you know, things like that. And we're pretty careful about it. You know, there's a select few friends that know, but I try to keep it separate just because of my job and things like that. But I mean, something like this, at this point, it's like, if somebody's listening to this, then they're probably in it too. So give me a call.
Takes one to know one, right,
we'll
Rose?
talk about it.
Nelsa, any last words before we wrap this up?
I just appreciate it. it's been fun. Like I said, it's been a learning experience, and I think overall, like, it's brought us closer together. Um, but the best advice I can give is just communicate with each other and just love each other and just have fun. Life is too short. There's so much drama and hatred in this world. And if you can do something that makes you happy and brings happiness to others, do it.
Well, I just want to say thank you to both of Rose and Maureen for being on here tonight. We really appreciate you sharing your insight, sharing your story with us and our listening audience. And if you have a story idea or something you're interested in hearing Jorge and I cover on our show, please go to our email at JorgeandNelsa. That is JorgeandNelsa at gmail.com. Give us a look see. And if you want to catch all of our episodes in one place, go to our website at www.therelationshipcycle.com. Thank you guys. And